You can't have an indictment until there's an investigation, i.e., until evidence has been gathered.
I see. So this was killed very early in its crib here, this investigation.
It never even started, according to my sources.
Mm-hmm. And this was because, according to your sources, Alberto Gonzales said, "We need Jane." Why did Alberto Gonzales need Jane?
Here's where the story really gets convoluted, more like a movie, a thriller about Washington. About this time, all this was happening, the New York Times was preparing a story. It was about to release a story about this, revealing this whole vast warrantless wiretapping program run by the NSA through the telephone companies, in which they were listening to virtually all American traffic, email traffic, and telephone calls. And that was about to be a huge scandal. And according to my sources, the Attorney General needed a prominent Democrat on the Hill who was above reproach to help defend the administration in a bipartisan way on this warrantless wiretapping program. So, according to my sources, the Attorney General told the intelligence agencies to stand down, to not go ahead and notify Denny Hastert, the Speaker of the House, and Nancy Pelosi, then the Democratic leader of the House. Do not notify them, because he didn't want any dirt on Jane Harmon to be made public. He didn't want an investigation of her ongoing, and ironically, having been picked up by a wiretap herself, allegedly trading favors with a foreign agent. He didn't want that coming out. At the same time, he needed her to be defending very publicly and vociferously the administration's warrantless wiretapping program. Mm-hmm. And so, and in fact, she did. She came out very much in support of the administration and denounced the New York Times for revealing the existence of that wiretapping program. So she did do that. Whether she did that as a favor or whether she all felt that anyway, we don't know. Again, justice was aborted here. The FBI was not allowed to investigate and thrash this out. Mm-hmm. And this is just an aside from me. The problem for Representative Harmon now is that she may have done nothing wrong, and yet she's under a cloud of suspicion because the investigation was aborted.
Right. Well, and as you mentioned on your blog this morning at cqpolitics.com, that Glenn Greenwald pointed out and went back over some of the history on his blog about how she really was the worst in terms of being, or I guess the best from Gonzales' point of view, in terms of being a loyal Democrat and defending the program after it came out, as you mentioned there. And, in fact, I don't think this made it by press time of your blog entry, but apparently this blog Plumline this morning is confirming that Harmon, in fact, did pressure the New York Times twice, 2 different times. And according to Keller's second statement now, the first time was in late October or early November 2004, just in time to apparently bury a story and help George Bush win re-election over her guy.
That's right. So it's a very convoluted story. In fact, when one of my sources was first, one of my principal sources was first describing this, including the quote that Jane Harmon allegedly said, "This conversation does not exist," I said, "Oh man, that sounds like a bad movie, And he said it does. And in fact, the whole thing sounds like a Washington thriller, sort of like that one that's out that just came out now, State of Play or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's sort of a thriller, and I'm hoping someone buys the movie rights.
Or at least, pick it up like the Times has done today and continue reporting on it. Mm-hmm. When does your follow-up article come out?
I'm following. I haven't written anything yet. I wrote a blog about what had been written for today, as you saw and you mentioned. I'm continuing to investigate the story. We have not identified with any certainty yet who was the target of the wiretap, who was the suspected Israeli double agent. We haven't identified that person yet. That's just for starters. There's lots of questions to be answered here.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I guess it was the Times story of 2006 brought up this guy, Haim Sabin, but your reporting doesn't indicate to you that he's the suspected Israeli agent that we're talking about here?
I do not have that. In fact, I was told by one of my sources that he was not the target.
I see. Do the cops that you talked to, did they think which, maybe this is a stretch of a question, but are they under the impression, I guess, that she knew the guy that she was making this deal with was actually an agent of the Israeli government rather than just an influential lobbyist of some kind?
That's a really interesting question, and which hasn't been answered yet, and I hope to be able to answer that. Again, if the FBI had been allowed to investigate, we might have found out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and have you talked to any lawyers? Are they saying that this looks like, because I'm no lawyer, that's the other Scott Horton that's got all the credentials, but it seems to me like this is what would you call a prima facie case for obstruction of justice on the part of the former Attorney General, right? And perhaps this Congresswoman.
I'll let other people characterize it. I'm just reporting what happened.
I see. All right, that's fair enough. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for calling me. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody, that's Jeff Stein. He's the national security editor for Congressional Quarterly. That's CQPolitics.com. And he has broken the gigantic news story. Sources: wiretap recorded Rep. Harmon promising to intervene for AIPAC. It's Anti-War Radio on Chaos in Austin, and we'll be right back.